Welcome to Reunite with Self podcast. I'm your host, Ruken. Here, we will be discovering and unraveling what is truly holding you back. We will put the puzzle together and give you clarity on how and what you can do to create massive shifts in your life so you start creating the life you always envisioned for yourself. No more waiting. Whether it is liberating from dysfunctional family patterns or parenting tools and tips that actually make the difference, we will be diving into the truth and core of things that are simple and yet which no one talks about. I will be sharing with you all the things that would have changed my life massively if I heard any one of these episodes. A new world is awakening, and true bliss, harmony, and peace is possible on this earth. And my mission is to bring you closer to that, one step at a time. In this safe space, I will hold your hand and give you courage and certainty that you can shift anything and everything in your life. It is time we break the pattern. Whether you want to be the parent you never had or make a shift in your life so you don't play small any longer, you will find the support and guidance in this space. My intention is for you to find your own answers within yourself while you listen to this podcast, so you feel the bliss of reuniting with your true essence, with self, with so much love and compassion and courage. From my heart to yours, let's keep it rocking. My gorgeous listener, welcome to another episode on Reunite with Self. I'm so grateful that you are here. I'm recording this episode in a different environment. I hope you don't hear any of the city noise or anything. I don't know about the acoustics in this room. I hope it sounds amazing. Let's begin. So, just as I said it, my allergies have kicked in a little bit. I just sneezed into the microphone. I edited it out. So, let's begin. Let's see how long this is going to take me because my nose is itching. And when my nose is itching, I know that something great is about to happen with this episode. So, my gorgeous listener, I have decided to create a 4-part series on the mother wound. There's a couple of reasons for this. The main reason is that this is something I've been realizing for many years, but lately in the past year or so, or maybe more, I'm realizing maybe deeper and deeper how massive the mother wound is globally. How massive mother wound is. An interesting thing about the mother wound is that I've shared this with you on an earlier episode. Oh my God, my nose is itching so bad. It's a good thing. It's how my ancestors are talking with me. So many things I want to talk about, but so we are starting today with the first series in the mother wound. And today's topic is mother wound is bigger than we think. The interesting thing, I want to share a couple of things with you right now. So the first thing I want to share is mother wound is something it's such a taboo subject that one of my therapists, he was not a therapist. I was doing regression with him years ago. And he mentioned something to me that was really interesting. He said, I think this was like 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. He said, look, like you see, because working through the mother wound is very interesting, because the father wound, like if I'm comparing those two or if we're talking about those two, it doesn't mean that you have only one. You might have both in different ways. Like that is usually the case in different ways. I'll explain. He said to me, Rukan, there are so many books stories in mythology, like even ancient stories, like because the ancient stories are repeated in films, scenarios, books, novels, blah, blah, blah. So he was telling me, even in art, you don't see the mother wound being studied. Like you never see stories on the mother wound. Lately, we have seen more after I heard this from him, but it is so interesting. Even if we see the mother wound, the mother is usually portrayed as someone society calls sick. And the consequences of that is when that person becomes an adult, or even when they're a child, there is like, it doesn't mean that it's worse or better or less or anything like that. But for the support from outside, you have a chance to become aware of what the F is happening quicker, because society, relatives around you, family, friends, neighbors, like people close to you can even warn you that there is something wrong here. But this is usually not the case, and that's why the mother wound is so deep. While we see the father wound talked about and studied and worked on and like portrayed in films so many times over and over and over. Like father wound is not such a taboo, and father wound does not have to be an extreme story to be called trauma or something, messed up there. It doesn't have to be an extreme story for someone to accept and realize that there was something going on with their relationship with their father, that they were doing something very unhealthy to them. I'm talking about usually, not always. They are both taboo, like crazy right now. But when I have to compare, or I'm comparing it just to tell you how deep the mother wound is. Because at the end of the day, I believe this too, like the most toxic masculine energy, they were raised by a woman. So what was her gain to either manipulate that guy to be that way or suppress him in a way to make him become that way? Like whatever the situation is. It doesn't mean that a very toxic man's mom needs to be blah, blah, blah. It depends on the story. Like the story itself is very important. Not like to generalize, but the story itself is always very important in every situation, and yours too. The situation, the story itself is important, by the way, not the generalized like concepts. Because if you're listening to this podcast, if your intention is to find solutions for yourself, if I would be like working with you in a group setting or one-on-one, I would start asking you questions. I wouldn't talk about the general mother wound or anything like that. Because once you get into the story with your emotions, like your emotions are the compass, and to find the solution is much faster. There is no need to talk long hours about it. It's just whatever is there is obvious. It's for me that way, and I know a lot of people that are professionals in this are that way too. They don't need to explain you, or you don't need to explain yourself for long hours. So coming back to how massive the mother wound is. So it's such a taboo that you don't even see it portrayed in films or in any art form. Very rarely you see it. And when you see it, it's usually someone like an alcoholic, someone who left the house, someone physically abusive maybe, like some extreme story that society would call abusive. Which is really sad because it's only one layer of it. And with this comes the shame, like forget the guilt. Like there is guilt. There's always going to be the guilt. Not even the guilt, but shame is so deeply rooted, I think in like the consciousness right now that it's so challenging for people to come to realize it. It takes more years. It takes sometimes more resilience. Like, you need to push through even harder to accept the fact that that the mother, your mom, had been doing something for a long time with narcissistic behavior consciously. That means consciously for me. So I don't care if her intentions or this or that. If you would ask her, she would tell the story in a very different way. Like, I know all the tricks now. Like, I know all the ways who would say what. It's just like, that's, of course it's going to be that way. Of course. But nobody's but the person who is exposed to it, it's not easy for them to see that. And it is such the mother figure it's I don't know if I can explain it here. I have to like think about it and write to explain what mother is to someone. The mother is the goddess, the source, the giver of life, the nurturer, supposed to be. But it's where we come from. So I believe it's like the child doesn't even know God. So it's like God of all gods. So it's for the child, they are so enmeshed, like, is that the word? Like enmeshed? I'm sure you get it. But they're so, especially if there is narcissistic, like any kind of manipulative behavior, it is so, the child thinks they are a part of mom's arm or leg. Like, they are so enmeshed. Oh my God, I forgot that word. But they're so a part of each other that the child cannot even, because of the narcissistic behavior, cannot individualize. And the challenge of the child of a narcissistic mother is to be able to individualize in a healthy way. This is the most challenging part. But as a child, like, of course, that's not possible. So this is such a deeply rooted thing that if the mother is doing something bad, then the child needs to be bad. The family needs to be a terrible family. It's just like, it is such a dangerous territory for the person even when they become an adult, and they're not like consciously thinking of it this way, maybe, but it is maybe our biggest fear, as if like, God doesn't love me. Like, it's that scary. That's why it takes people such a long time, even when they realize there is something effed up with their mom, with her relationship with the adult child. It's challenging. It's challenging to, I'm not saying it's impossible or anything, by the way, but I just want to tell you all of this so you find compassion for yourself, and you find the why it's taking so long for you to come to the point, like, this is it. They've done this repeatedly. They knew it would affect me this way. They never repaired it. They repeatedly done this in those moments. I was affected in this way, so I was behaving in this way. So I started these habits. They were seeing those results that I was creating, and they were actually getting satisfied with that. And although they were acting as if they were trying to help me, support me, save me, be worried about me, blah, 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 they were the reason why I was having those results in my life and why I was in that situation. But they're like, I don't want to go into the how they do it, like the kind of behavior. We'll talk about it in the next episode. But I want to talk about first today why why it's so massive globally. And I did not know this. I thought that the father wound was so big, that was the main topic for people. But what I have realized is that, if we look at the percentage, I think the mother wound might be higher. The type, the number of messages I get, the percentage of the father and the mother wound. I have a podcast in Turkish too, and I get a lot of questions there. The percentage, I can't even compare. The mother wound is so much higher. And the interesting thing is that father wound is much more visible to the eye when you meet people, when you look from outside, even how people can make suggestions that they have father wound. Like, they don't say I have a father wound, but they might suggest that they have suggest that they have some challenges with their father as an adult, like as the adult child. Never about the mom. And so it was like so hidden that now when I see it, what I'm realizing is that there is two ways that people have the mother wound. So let's just talk about this today. There is two ways a person has the mother wound. This is what I've realized in my life experience. The first one is the cutthroat, the direct mother wound, let's say. Not direct. They're both very direct, but the first one is the narcissistic mom, the narcissistic mother, the mother who has narcissistic tendency, behavior, especially towards their child in very, very, very hidden ways. So I'm not even talking about the extreme situation. The extreme situation, we can all talk about it. We can all have great ideas about that. And still the person who was abused by that is very challenging for them. By the way, if you have any questions for me at any moment, please DM me. You might have a different story. You might have the more extreme story. They're all 100% they're all valid. But what I like to talk about on this podcast is things that no one talks about. Like no one. And the things that I wish I had heard like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10, 20 years ago, my life would have been completely different because I would have resonated so quickly and find my solutions much faster. But everything happened for me. I'm so grateful. That's why I'm here holding this microphone talking to you. So I'm so grateful. So this is the narcissistic mother. The mother who has narcissistic behavior, tendency in very hidden ways. We'll talk about how this plays out in the second episode next week. I'm not going to give you I'm not going to go into the details because it will take me 2 hours. This is one of the ways. So the child is abused by a narcissistic mother who does not seem to be narcissist at all, by the way. At all. They might have problems here and there. This person might have some difficulties, let's say, in air quotes, some people would call, but they don't seem to be an abusive mom. They seem as if they're a very loving mom. They seem as if they would do anything for their child. Their child is maybe the center focus, center point of their life. They are worried about their child and blah, 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 blah. This is one of the ways. And the second way a lot of people have the mother wound is that between the parents, the roles might be diverse. So the father might have narcissistic tendencies. And this is so massive, narcissism right now. If one doesn't have, the other one usually has. So, usually. But if you're an adult right now, like this is usually the case right now. So especially in America, in the Middle East, in Turkey, in Europe, like these countries. Um, so the if the father has narcissistic tendencies, how the mother wound might be created as well. So the person has the father wound as well, but how the mother is not supportive, cannot support the child, cannot protect the child from the BS of the father. This is another very big mother wound. Huge, huge. So these are the two ways. So the mom can be a narcissist, like narcissistic tendencies, behavior, whatever, towards the child, especially very hidden, very subtitled, so hidden. Someone that does not have a lot of empathy and is not highly sensitive has zero clue, like zero. But when they look at that mom, they might just seem as if she's a bit too much at some of the things. You know, maybe she talks too much, she asks too many questions, she's too talkative, she's trying to be like a power figure in the group or like something, but not a narcissist. Like people don't realize this. And that's why it's very, very challenging for the child to like create the clarity and then take massive action on it, like create the healthy boundaries, which by the way is like possible for you today, right now, yesterday. I'm just talking about like why in our consciousness it's not easy for us to spot this right away. And it's even harder sometimes. Challenging doesn't mean that it's not possible. It's just you can tell yourself, this is so natural for me to feel challenged and all these emotions right now, working through my mother wound, because this is powerful. This is like so deeply rooted, and it's like, it's shaking me to my core. But I'm saying this with like all my being. You can turn this into your power. Like you will turn this wound, like whatever wounds you have from your family, your superpower. You will use it as leverage to go even higher or longer or faster to wherever you want to go. Because life happens for us always. I believe as souls, we choose our family, our parents. They're always there. The biggest lesson, the deepest lesson in all of this is to break free from all the societal taboos and stuff, and then choosing love, meaning choosing self-love, which is challenging. And that's why that is the lesson. But that is the true love. Like that love can never hurt anyone to their soul. That love protects you. Like you are protected when you choose yourself, when you choose your heart, when you choose the challenging thing, when you make decisions from your heart, being scared of being abandoned, rejected, I don't know, ridiculed, neglected, bullied, judged, shamed, whatever. But you choose what your heart is telling you, because it is always clear what you need to do. It is always very clear. And what you need to do is always about never minimizing anything, any of the narcissistic behavior towards you. Like never minimizing any kind of emotions you have towards a conversation or someone or something, never minimizing that, and never minimizing someone's narcissistic behavior, even if it looks very small, because it's never that small. We'll talk about all of this in the next episodes. But today I just wanted to talk about this so that we are more aware of it, that the mother wound is massive in the world right now. And imagine the ways if someone is not even open to this fact, or not aware of it, or not taking action, or not creating the clarity on it, how massive the influence it would have on them. I will close with this. A very dear friend of mine, I love her so much.
I don't think she even listens to the English podcast, but after she became a mom, she didn't have a child quickly, which was amazing. She got married and they stayed married for a long time, and then they're still married, but they had a baby farther along the way, like very, very farther along, which I congratulated them for so much, because I know the journey they've been through until then. She said something, and she's very conscious, like she's a conscious mom. She's aware of everything from pregnancy to raising her child. Now, she was saying when her child was like 2-3 years old, how a mother, like she was telling me how a mother has so freaking much influence on the child, how much power a mom has, and how it is so simple to manipulate a child if the mother wants to. This, like, I can tell this to you, but I just wanted to say this coming from a mom. But I know the feeling very well, because I know human behavior. I know how the heart works. I know how the brain works. Like, I know human. And I know this, and I know kids, because I was a kid once. It is very easy. It is child's game, child's play. If you want to manipulate your child, it will look as if you love them so much, as if you are not doing anything at all. You won't even grab any attention to yourself. It won't even be mentioned in any conversation. No one will ever even see it. The husband will never even care. If you want to, if you're not someone working on yourself, it is very easy to manipulate a child however you want to. If you want them to be empowered or weak, if you want them to think some kind of way towards something, some people, of their own abilities, how much they depend on the mom or not, how much they're capable of doing this or that, how much they're worth, how much their emotions are worth, how much their emotions are valid, how much their emotions are real or not, how much their emotions are less important than, let's say, their own emotions or the father's problems or whatever. It is so easy to manipulate a child, to dictate to them what they should feel or not, to control a child, to limit a child, to manipulate a child. It is child's game, child's play, whatever. It is so easy. We have to understand this. Manipulating a child is easy AF. Manipulating a child is as easy AF. You don't have to be doing like grand stuff to manipulate a child. And someone with the tiniest narcissistic tendency doesn't even need to feel guilty about it. They can justify it very easily in that moment, and it's gone. And they can repeat that however times they want. And they don't have to do big things. Like I always say, like when someone works on the narcissistic abuse, I believe they have to work on not just like what the person said, how they screamed and shouted and things like that, but also their body posture, the facial expression, how they talk, like the tone of their voice, how they sighed, like the smallest gestures. You have to be that sensitive, because from the child's eye, when you were like 3 years old, 4 years old, a toddler, and moving forward, you are so sensitive to every gesture they do. you depend on them for survival, for anything. So we have to understand manipulating a child doesn't have to look this way or that way. It's not that limited. It's like a whole kind of like how two adults can make each other feel like shit is so easy with a child that's truly dependent on you, and that's like learning the world through your eyes, through your actions towards them. They're learning how much they're worth or not, or how much they're enough or not, how much they're lovable or not, what they can get in life or not. It is very easy to manipulate a child. And I want to add, we have to understand, we have to come to terms with, even if we are moms or dads, being a mom or a dad is not something sacred. It doesn't make you sacred just because you're a mother or a father. We have to understand this. The journey is challenging. I mean, if you have not done any work on yourself and you just gave birth, it's like very challenging for the child, because the child has no control. The mom and dad, just whoever they are, they have sex and you just give birth. So it's not something sacred. We have to understand this. If we let go of that, then we are able to see that, okay, so my mom and dad, it's not something sacred. You can still be grateful for everything, but never, never, ever use that to minimize anything. They are two different things. It's not the same conversation. The conversation is not that. I always remind this so you're not confused, because that is the way the society, church, whatever, the big power in the world, that's how they manipulate and control, so that you have to suppress, oppress, say yes, just only be grateful to your mom and dad. Always the conversation has to go that way. Like, it's so ridiculous to me. Even like amazing, successful women I'm inspired by, they have amazing podcasts that I follow and listen to. I learn so much from them. I get so inspired by them. I'm so inspired by them. But when it comes to family stuff, how they word it, as if they feel so guilty to say anything was wrong, like anything in their family. And the conversation should be different. In that sentence, you don't need to say, I'm grateful to them anyways. Like, you can, if you have created 100% clarity, because like you are not triggered, you're not activated by it. It doesn't, like, you don't get charged by it anymore. But if you're still suppressing yourself, if you still haven't created the clarity, if you're still using that nonsense stuff that society uses upon you, like you have to be grateful, that's not like, you can be super grateful for what they've done and what they haven't done and how they've abused you. It's like, they can coexist. It has nothing to do with the subject. So we have to realize that the mother wound is massive. Even the people that created massive success, as like I said, like, I'm so inspired by them. I would love to have an interview with them or something around the subject, but it's just so ridiculous to me that even them, they have to say they're that scared. Like, it's just not that they're superior to anyone or anything, but just they've created clarity on so many things in their lives. But this one thing that they're having a great, like, massive problem with, they still feel the guilt to say that. Because if you're someone loving, empathic, compassionate, you don't have to say that. The person listening to you, if they are not stupid, if they're not a narcissist, they know that already. You don't need to say that. That's like a given. That we're not interested in that. We know that already. Let's say new things now. It's time to say new things. And this is the way to love. Like, this is the only way to love. This is the only way to forgiveness, to true love, to true connection, if there is any chance with that person. If there is any chance of true connection. In a true connection, it's reciprocal. You are seen 100%. And they have to be accountable for everything they've done to you. They have to be. If they're not, then you create the clarity and you find that path takes you to true love. Whatever that will look like for that relationship as well. But I know this in my heart. When you follow your heart, when you create the clarity, when you do what's right, when you create those healthy boundaries, non-negotiable, not minimizing anything, not risking anything, always following your body leading, you following it. Your emotions are your compass, like you following that is for the benefit of all involved in that story. And you can't formulate how that's going to pan out, but it's for the benefit of all. And when we leave this world and like our souls go to another dimension, wherever we go to, when we meet there, they're going to pat you on the back and be like, finally you understood. Like, finally you chose true love and chose yourself. Congratulations. Like, finally you got it. And they will smile because it's their job. That's why we have the soul contracts. That's why we choose these people. The hardest thing is that the most painful is suffer and stay in it and not make this super crystal clear clarity and healthy boundaries. That is easier. That is more painful. That keeps you suffer all your life. It's not the way to love, although it may seem as if you're more loving, blah, 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 to you or to others at first, but that is not the path to love, and that does not benefit anyone's soul. That just serves the dark energy. That just serves the dark energy. And so it is time that we change all of this. It is time that we are accountable for our own life. It is time that we create the clarity, even though it might be challenging, but who knows what's next? Like, when we are in the path of love, who knows what's next? Who knows what magic will come after that? Who knows how much grace will come after that? Because you've done what's so challenging, but the truth. So let's change this. Only this way we can change things for the next generations. Only by this. Me loving myself truly can be the only way I can truly love my child. Only way. And I can have a child who's an adult now, who is not born yet, who's a baby now, who's on the way. Doesn't matter. It is like today is the time. So I'll see you in the next episodes of this series on the mother wound. If you have any questions, please DM me at Kevela. My Instagram is in the show notes. And please follow the podcast. Give us a 5-star review if you like it. I love you so much. I'll see you next week. I hope to see you shine your brightest. I love you. My gorgeous listener, if you had any takeaways from this episode or from this podcast in general, I would love to know. Please share this episode with a few loved ones right now. You never know how they can benefit from something so small. And please take a screenshot of this episode and share on IG, tagging me at Kevela. That is KHEWELLA. Kevela. That is my goddess wear brand, my Instagram page. I would love to know what your takeaway was, or something you found inspirational, or a confirmation you believe in as well. That would make my day. And you can always DM me if you have a topic or a certain question in mind that you want me to talk about. And give me a 5-star rating if you feel like it. That would help this podcast immensely to get the word out. I love you. See you on the next one. I want to see you shine your brightest.